India's Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has hit out at former US President Barack Obama for his remarks on the protection of ethnic minorities in India. This comes as the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi returns to Delhi after concluding his visit to US and Egypt. In an interview with CNN on how Biden should engage with the leaders such as Chinese President Xi Jinping and PM Modi, the former US President responded by saying that President Biden should question PM Modi. He said the protection of Muslim minority in a majority Hindu India is something worth mentioning. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi returned to India after his two-day state visit to Egypt. Indian Prime Minister Modi and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi signed an agreement to elevate ties to a level of strategic partnership. According to India's Ministry of External Affairs, 3 MOUs were signed by both the countries in the field of agriculture, archaeology and antiques, which will deepen the bilateral relations. The leaders also discussed ways to deepen their relationship in defense, trade, security and investment. One person was killed and several were injured in roller coaster accident at an amusement park in Sweden's capital of Stockholm. Sweden's public broadcaster said the park's jetline roller coaster partly derailed during a ride. Ambulances, fire trucks and a helicopter were seen arriving at the park. The police investigation is underway. As per reports, the 140-year-old park was closed until further notice. According to a newly declassified US intelligence report, North Korea is likely to use its growing nuclear arsenal to coerce neighboring countries. It is likely to take bigger risks with the country's conventional military forces. The National Intelligence Council report titled North Korea Scenarios for Leveraging Nuclear Weapons through 2030, dating back to January. The report was declassified on June 15th. According to the report, North Korea will take military risks under the belief that nuclear weapons will avoid robust US or South Korean responses. The Honduran government announced curfews in 2 northern cities. This was after more than 20 people were killed overnight in separate attacks amid escalating violence in the country. Heavily armed men opened fire on Saturday night in a billiards hall in neighborhood in the northern manufacturing city of Coloma. The attack killed 13 people and seriously wounded others. President Xiomara Castro announced a 15-day curfew in Coloma between 9 p.m. and 4 a.m. effective immediately, and another in San Pedro Sula effective July 4th. In the Greece election, Conservative former PM Kyriakos Mitsotakis is on the course to win a second term by a landslide victory as per exit polls. The exit polls said Mitsotakis has 44% of the vote. On the other hand, his leftist rival Alexis Tsipras has less than 20%. Jubilant supporters of Mitsotakis gathered outside party headquarters in Athens to celebrate the party's victory in the country's second election in 5 weeks. The previous election in May, conducted under a proportional representation system, left him 5 seats short of a majority. At least 9 were killed and 30 injured in Russian strikes on Syrian city of Idlib. Russian jets bombed villages and town in the area in a major flare-up of violence in Syria's last opposition stronghold. Russian Sukhoi jets struck a vegetable market packed with people ahead of Eid in Jasr al-Shughur. The Russian forces also bombed villages in the Jabal al-Jivya region, which falls in the buffer zone carved out by Russia and Turkey that ended fierce fighting about 5 years ago. Moscow has grown impatient with Turkey, a major backer of the rebels, saying it is not doing enough to evict jihadists from the buffer zone. The Ukraine military reported an offensive near the villages surrounding Bakhmut, which was taken by Wagner forces in May after months of fighting. Alexander Tarnavsky, a Ukrainian commander, said its forces had liberated territories near the city of Krasnoyarivka, falling in the Donetsk region, which pro-Russia separatists have occupied since 2014. While Ukrainian forces attacked in several places in Zaporizhia region, gaining some territorial gains along the southern front line. Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar labelled the battle as fierce. The Ukrainian forces have so far focused on initial stages of its counter-offensive on several sectors in the Zaporizhia region. At least 3 people, including 2 men and 1 woman, were killed, as well as 5 others were injured after Sunday morning shooting in Kansas City. This according to Missouri police, that initiated an investigation into the 2 shootings. An initial investigation by police indicates the gathering took place outside an auto repair shop. Police were told that 5 other shooting victims with injuries that were not life-threatening arrived at various hospitals by private vehicles or ambulance. So far, no information has been shared on any arrests made in the case. 2023 has been particularly tragic as far as incidents of gun violence are concerned. Meanwhile, fighting continued between Sudan's military and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces group in Khartoum on Sunday. RSF reported that they had seized the main base of a heavily armed police unit. The RSF in a statement said it had taken full control of the large base belonging to the Central Reserve Police, Southern Khartoum. Sudan descended into conflict in mid-April after months of worsening tensions exploded into open fighting between rival generals seeking to control the African nation. At the invitation of Chinese Premier Li Qiang, Vietnamese Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh is in China for an official state visit from June 25th to 28th. This is also the first official visit by a Vietnamese Prime Minister to China in 7 years. This meeting takes place at the time when both the countries are celebrating 15 years of their comprehensive strategic partnership this year. During the trip, both the countries are expected to strengthen their economic and trade cooperation and implement infrastructure projects between the 2 nations. During his stay, PM Chinh is scheduled to hold talks with the Chinese President Xi Jinping. At least 50 people were detained by Turkish police after Istanbul's LGBTQ community defied the ban and carried out their annual Pride March. Pride Parade had been banned in Istanbul this year, along with other cities, as Erdogan regime continued their crackdown against the community. Hundreds of people defied a ban on Pride Parade in Istanbul and gathered in rainbow-colored flags to celebrate Pride. The group gathered in Mystic Park instead of the traditional venue of Istiklal Avenue, before organizers called on them to disperse. The change of venue followed deployment of riot police at traditional venues.
Muammer Bey'i arayayım derken neyi kastediyordunuz? Neyi kastediyordunuz? Lütfen arar mısınız?
Indian Globetrotters are taking the world by storm, with travel volumes surpassing pre-pandemic levels and leaving their Asian counterparts in the dust. With their insatiable wanderlust and desire for adventure, Indian travelers have emerged as the leading jet-setters of Asia. According to tourism consultancy IPK International, India proudly claimed the title of Asia's top source of international travelers in 2022, surpassing even travel giants like China, South Korea and Japan. This meteoric rise has caught the attention of the US tourism sector, igniting hopes of long-term growth and revitalization. In a big relief for embattled Go First, the Indian Airlines lenders have granted approval for an interim funding of approximately $48 million, marking a key step in the ongoing efforts to keep the struggling airline afloat. With lenders extending a helping hand, all eyes are now on the DGCA, which is currently examining an application submitted by the airline to get back in business. Go First needs the aviation regulator's nod to kickstart operations and sell tickets. The Japanese military is on its way to adopt Starlink's technology in the coming fiscal year. The technology being tested is Starlink's internet satellite service. While the Ministry of Defense already has access to communication satellites, adding on SpaceX technologies would add another constellation of satellites in Earth's lower orbit. It is a rather precautionary measure for countries to build resilience against the risk of jamming of communications or attacks on satellites in case of a conflict. Interestingly, Starlink's technology is already being used by Ukraine in the battlefield, and Russia is making all attempts to block the same. WhatsApp has unfortunately become one of the most infamous apps for scams to occur. This time, online scammers have circulated a new link to install WhatsApp Pink. In a recent advisory by the Indian police, officials have strictly warned people to stay away from this new scam. The Pink version of WhatsApp claims to offer many new features and enhances WhatsApp's experience, but it is a phishing link that can give hackers access to users' confidential data. From financial scams to loss of contacts and personal information, hackers can harm anyway. After a 14-day delay, India's much-awaited southwest monsoon finally arrives in country's financial capital, Mumbai. While country's national capital, Delhi, got the taste of monsoon 2 days earlier than the predicted schedule between Saturday night and Sunday evening, Delhi's primary weather observatory recorded at least 50.7 millimeters of rainfall. The minimum temperature in the capital region was recorded at 23.1 degrees Celsius, that is at least 5 degrees below normal, and the maximum was recorded at 29 degrees Celsius, that is 8 degrees below normal. Hundreds of environmental activists wearing red jumpsuits and carrying banners and flags marched onto the grounds of Tata Steel in a coastal city of Netherlands. Led by Greenpeace, the activists were joined by local residents who are unhappy due to high levels of heavy metals in the nearby soil. The facility is under scrutiny by environmental agencies, and prosecutors are investigating alleged intentional pollution of nearby groundwater, which Tata denies. A high-speed electric train designed to shuttle pilgrims to various holy cities during the Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia became operational. The service was introduced in 2010 and its main purpose is to transport pilgrims and visitors. Tests were conducted over the past 10 days. The head of public relations for the Saudi railway company said the train line will shuttle around 2 million pilgrims this year. Over 2 million Muslims will take part in the event as one of the world's largest religious gatherings returns to full capacity following years of coronavirus restrictions.